Hi there, my name is Diane, but you can just call me D. In today's video, we're gonna be doing a reading vlog of the latest book from Courtney Summers, I'm the Girl. This book was published last year in 2022 and I've been wanting to read it, but because of the themes I know it harbors, I just wanted to wait for the ideal time. I was craving reading some Courtney Summers, and so I decided to pick it up. I want to read this book because I love Courtney Summers. I've read 2 books from her already, and I feel like maybe 3 books establishes if the author is really a favorite author. I think it leaves the author some time to grow and tell different stories. The 2 books I read from her in the past were Sadie, which had a podcast element to it, and The Project, which was about a cult. Honestly, the stories really were interesting to me, even though it's quite contemporary, and I usually don't really enjoy contemporary that much unless it's in a real thrillery aspect, and her books are thrillers, but it's a much more realistic thriller than most thrillers that I've read. Honestly, it tackles a lot of very hard topics and it feels so relatable, especially if you have experienced those before, and so it feels so realistic and it feels so raw and real, and the way Courtney Summers writes is just so emotional. It really gets you, you know. I loved Sadie. I think rated it 5 stars. I really liked The Project, even though I think people were disappointed with some of the plot points. And I can see that and I can understand that. I think I rated it 4 to 4.5 stars. It wasn't a perfect book, but I really enjoyed getting into another book from Courtney Summers. And so when this book came out, I knew this was gonna be really hard. In terms of content warnings, I would highly recommend looking them up. It's about this girl, Georgia, who had a really hard life so far. She's 16 and she really wants to become an Aspera girl. Aspera is like a country club, basically. It's rumored that if you are an Aspera girl, you're basically a pretty girl that is here to take care of the richest members. We don't know yet what that entails, but I think we can figure it out. Courtney's books always have this sort of mystery, kind of thrillery suspense to them. It is not the main focus necessarily. I think she really takes the time to make you care for the characters and develop a connection with them that you may not have in typical thrillers. So I'm 96 pages in. I'm about 25% basically. I'm really enjoying it as much as you can enjoy that sort of book. I think it's definitely well written. I definitely feel the Courtney Summers writing style and I'm here for it. I love it. I was really craving Courtney Summers and that's really what I needed. So I'm super excited, although I know it's a tough story and you know, it's not pretty. It's definitely not pretty. I have a feeling of where this is gonna go and I'm sure it's gonna be way worse, but I'm intrigued in continuing, so I'll check back once I'm 50% in. Alright, so I'm here for another update. I had already made a clip, but I wasn't really happy with it, so I'm over 50%. I'm doing well with my progress. I'd say I'm further than I was expecting to be at that time. The story is really slowly told. It has a thriller undertone, but it's more so a mystery, and it's really all about getting to know characters and getting connected with them and really relating to them and just feeling for them. So the writing style is just so haunting. You know, I can't tell that I enjoy such a story, but I definitely appreciate how it's been written. I think we may have had a sort of homage to Sadie because the name is mentioned in here. So I wonder if that's the case. I'll look it up once I'm done reading, of course. And there's also a teardrop at the beginning of certain chapters, and I can't seem to figure out why, so I'm very interested to know if maybe there's like a hint there, like here. Really not much happened before the 50%. I think there was something that happened around that mark that is almost not understood by the main character. I mean, she's 16 and she doesn't maybe understand how wrong that is. So I don't know, it's treated so weird by other people. So I really wonder what's happening in the Aspera country club thingy. It just sounds so messed up, honestly. So I'm intrigued to continue and see where this is going. Where I'm at, actually, we are trying to find a bit more clues about the murder that happened, which I'm assuming is gonna be linked to the main character in some way, and probably also with Aspera. I'm honestly 100% sure that's gonna come back to that. So I'm intrigued to see where this is going. I'm definitely captivated. I still really love the writing, but we'll see. I'm here to do another update on I'm the Girl. I'm a little bit over 75%. I have like about 50 pages left. I am a little bit behind. I was hoping to finish it earlier this week, but honestly the story is a lot. It's a lot to digest, and around that percent, you know, kind of something happened that really was disturbing and that didn't make me want to continue reading, really. It is hard to get my thoughts out and try to talk about this book. We see a lot of manipulation and grooming from the adults. It's heartbreaking to see how the main character doesn't see all that as something wrong. It's quite disgusting. It is unsettling to follow the main character because what we consider obviously wrong is not yet something that she can understand fully, and so she doesn't see why is it so wrong, and she takes it almost personally. But at the same time, I don't think she realizes what's happening to her, or at least to the extent that it's happening. I don't know. It's tough. I can understand that. I can appreciate that. As a child, you can go through trauma that you maybe don't realize is traumatic, or events that can happen, you know, as a child that you don't realize the full extent of that. You only realize and recognize what it was when you're an adult and you have more experience. I definitely can relate to this. What is difficult is to also see adults or her support system who could help her, but they don't know how, and she is also reluctant to let them in on anything, and so they might not even be aware to the extent of what's going on. But I think really it's because they have no idea what to do, and it's also hard to push through difficult subjects, difficult topics through your discomfort. I honestly don't know how to explain this, and I don't really know, like I said, how to fully form proper thoughts. And I'm gonna try to finish it this weekend, wrap up this vlog, and then I'll go and look at reviews and see if there's something that makes more sense than what I'm saying right now. I don't know. This is disgusting and disturbing, and I wanna hopefully understand the meaning of it. I'm back. I finished it, and I get what the book was trying to do. I understand that it was from the perspective of really a child who really doesn't understand what's going on, even though we do. And I think we get very frustrated with the main character because it's so obvious to us what's going on, and because she keeps on making those decisions that lead her to the wrong path. And as adults, we can recognize that. I don't know if as a child we can all also recognize that. You know what I mean? I think the book is trying to show that even though you can feel very mature and you can think that you understand how the world works, as a child, you still, and a teenager, you still have very little experience or knowledge or insight with what really is going on. And even though, you know, you experience trauma, like I was saying before, you don't fully understand what it means until you have more awareness. The book did that very well because, and I think I'm just repeating myself here, but you can have so much happen to you in your childhood, during your teen years, that you are only processing when you're an adult, and sometimes quite late in your adulthood. The main character was a teenager who thought she could achieve this dream, and she thought that this dream was something that it wasn't, because she had all those ideas about what it looks like from the outside. There are a few explicit scenes in this book that I think I understand why they were there. I think the details were not needed. And I also think the point of it kind of got muddied, especially at the end. I don't think the pacing of this was really great. I don't think this book was ever enjoyable, but I don't really like the last like 30%, maybe a bit more. The pacing was off. The mystery is not explained really. You kind of understand from the dialogue what happened. You don't understand everything. The mystery is almost abandoned halfway through the book, but at the same time, at the end we get some resolution, but it's not necessarily what you would want in a book like this. I don't feel like it's wrapping up very well. I don't think that it's telling you enough of what happened to feel satisfactory. I can understand how some people may not feel satisfied with the ending, even though the sort of open-endedness to it is something I was expecting from Courtney Summers because it happened before. I think it's gonna bother a lot of people because of the subject matter and kind of because of what happened at the end, the events that happened. It just leaves you with this gross, disgusting feeling, honestly, reading this book. From what I understood from reviews, people are really complaining about the main character being naive, and I've already spoken on that. I think it makes sense for her age, and even though it's painful to read and it's aggravating at times, some if not most teenagers might think that way. And I also think people didn't agree with this being a YA, and to that I don't really have an opinion on that. I think I would strongly encourage parents to read this book before they decide whether or not they want to give it to their teenagers, and that's mostly because the message is not clear enough. And as a teenager, I don't know that you would necessarily understand all the subtleties. Honestly, Courtney Summers, I loved the writing. I loved her writing style, and this hasn't changed with this book. But the story lacks direction, I think, and it lacks a stronger point. Yes, there is a theme here that revolves around power and power dynamics, and it mimics maybe some life events that we've had recently with Epstein, and it's definitely not hopeful. And I think that's probably why this book is so hard to think about positively in the end, because there's very little hope to it. The adults that knew what was going on and didn't protect her the way they should have is a bit mind-blowing to me. I think maybe some of them didn't know how to, but I think as an adult though, I think you have more tools that you can use, that you're aware of, in order to avoid this. So this is infuriating, this is frustrating, this portrays things that have happened. This is quite real, but I don't want this book on my shelf. So and with that, we're gonna wrap up this video. I'm glad that I've read another Courtney Summers. I was really craving her writing, and I enjoyed reading her writing, but I don't think I enjoyed the story. And honestly, I don't think anyone who reads this book enjoys the story. You can appreciate it and you can see what it's doing. I think it lacked depth to the message, and I think that's my biggest grip with it. Is if you want to tackle such a deep, messed up subject, you really need to have something on the other end that is clear and strong. You just can't half-ass it. Yeah, the plot, not so much. I think the beginning was good, but unfortunately this doesn't really stay throughout. A lot changes and a lot of things are unexplained. And if you don't like that, I don't think you're gonna enjoy this book. There was definitely a nod to Sadie, so I was right on that. The teardrop and the antlers that we have in here made sense. Even like the antlers, man, the parallels between the power dynamics in hunting and what's happening in the book. So what we can get from this book is that Courtney Summers is still one of my favorite writer. This one felt closer to Sadie than her other book, and I think that was on purpose. I believe that it was supposed to be kind of a sequel to Sadie without being like a true sequel. It doesn't have that good of a rating on Goodreads. It's 3.41, so you can see that people were not meshing with it, and part of it can be because of what it's tackling and because of the fact that it's supposed to be YA, and some people may disagree with having such strong topics for YA. But I also seen a lot of reviews where people did not rate the book. Like, I also will not rate this book. So I'm glad I read another book from her. I understand why these kind of stories are needed. I wish it was maybe handled a little bit differently. I really want another book from her, so I'm really hoping that she's gonna release something else soon, because the writing is beautiful, it's haunting, she really makes you feel. Have you read this book? Have you read any of Courtney Summers' books? Which one was your favorite? Let me know down below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.